Hey Trisha, it's Sean Kirkpatrick in Chambers, just doing a quick sound check with you.
Hi, Sean. This is Trisha. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Hi, Susan Clemens. Could we please do a sound check?
Well, hi there. It's Suzanne Clemens speaking. Can you hear me okay?
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, Barb. It's Cheryl in Chambers. Could we do a quick sound check? Hi, Danielle. It's Cheryl in Chambers. Can we do a quick sound check?
You bet, Cheryl. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Thank you. Barb, can we do a quick sound check? So Cheryl, are you making me co-host? Oh, yes, we'll make you co-host, sorry. Okay, thanks. Hi, Counselor Jolly. Can we do a quick sound check? What's the difference?
Hello.
Perfect, thank you. Wasn't attached at the other end?
This is for my, like, my,
It was a non-through street?
yeah. Now, I'm good, I'm on the stage. Well, it's as good as any. Well, you know.
Is it a USPC?
No, this is for the old age.
Oh, like the surface and
Yeah.
it's probably charges your Granicus tablet. Yeah.
No, that doesn't. And then yeah, you know, this one. I don't, it's that was, well, circuit was disconnected when you started. Yeah, but I, oh, I, this for.
But he came up, Sean, his passenger for about 2 hours.
Well, you're moving with it.
All right, guys, 1 minute warning. All right, it's 1 o'clock. I'm calling the meeting to order for Tuesday, February 20th. Adoption, or sorry, attendance at the start of the meeting is 100% with Councillor Jolly being virtual. And I need a motion to adopt the agenda. Thank you, Councillor Mackay.
That the February 20th, 2024 agenda be adopted as presented. Thank you.
All right, and I know of no other changes, so I will just call for the vote. Councillor Jolly, just so you know, your camera is not on.
Yeah, I'm just making myself a tea.
Okay, all right. We do have some registered speakers, but they are specific to agenda items. Sorry, we have the proponent for the public hearing is registered, and we have the chair of the seniors committee. So we will get to them when we get to those agenda items, and there are no other registered speakers, so we'll move on. Consent agenda is next on our agenda, and we're going to add, if no one has an objection, 8.1 to consent, which is the conversation we had about the Lacombe Lake dog water access. Should have been on consent. We just sort of forgot it. So if you guys are okay with that, I'll have somebody read consent into the record. Councillor Bermansky, thanks.
Thank you. The recommendations in the following agenda reports be approved. Regular council meeting minutes of February 6, 2024. And that, do you want me to read the?
Yeah, it's on the Granicus.
That 150,000 be approved.
Oh, no, you don't have to read that. Just 6.1 regular and then 8.1, the standing committee of the whole.
Okay.
On the screen, Shell, that
Okay.
helps. Yeah,
Standing committee of the whole item, Lacombe Lake Dog Park water access.
perfect. Thank you. Call for the vote. Voting is closed and that motion passes unanimously. 6.1 was on consent, which was the minutes from February 6th. Item 7, our agenda is a public hearing, but it's time specific for 2 o'clock, so we will skip over it. 8.1 was on consent. The motion there read that 150,000 be approved for remediation of the dog water access area at Lacombe Lake Park to be funded from the dog license reserve. All right, 8.2 is the Seniors Advisory Committee 2023 Annual Report. And is Suzanne with us? Suzanne Clemens?
Yes. Good afternoon, Council.
Thank you for joining us. I will let you take it away.
Okay, well, we're proposing to put forward the Seniors Elders Service Award Program policy. And we are looking for council to move this. Is there anything specific you need with regards to the Seniors
what?
Elders Service?
Suzanne, that's the next item on our agenda, is the program. We're just talking about the annual report, which we were given in our package. And I thought you were going to present the annual report to us.
Sorry, no, I wasn't aware I was going to present that. Thought I was just speaking on the Seniors Elders Service Awards program.
Okay. Is there anyone else? Do we need to reschedule that then? Or do we just open it up for questions? You guys all read it? Who's my council rep on the seniors? Okay. I'll open up for
last year.
Okay, and we can either have administration or Suzanne or our council reps answer any questions on the annual report. It was a year in summary. I'm seeing no questions, so why don't we go to the motion on this one, which is just to receive it as information. So are you the main rep, Councillor Hughes? Okay, go ahead.
It moved on me. That the Seniors Advisory Council Committee Annual Report for 2023 provided is attached to February 20th, 2024 agenda report entitled Seniors Advisory Committee 2023 Annual Report be received as information.
Awesome. Any comments on that?
Yeah, I know that we didn't actually say very much today on it, but there certainly was discussion at the committee to ensure that it reflected what they were trying to accomplish. And so the 3 main goals were to provide insight into on requests and various council initiatives, such as the DARP, and just giving information about that from the seniors perspective, obviously to help with the selection and any type of progress for the Senior Service Awards. And I'm just trying to, I'm sorry, my computer's died on me and I'm just trying to get to the 3rd one. If anyone else has it in front of me, I don't have it in front of me. Please forgive me. I'm trying to get to that page. But sorry, just give me 1 second, Mayor, please. I have it here and it's just gone. And I'm so sorry. It's just not where it needs to be. Okay, I know, I understand now why. So let me just go through again. The 3 was to define the awards, which was the first thing they wanted to do. The second item was to provide feedback. And the 3rd item was, no, that was just the sorry. This is just chaos today. So please forgive me, Mayor Herron. What we're looking for was the 3 directions. Suzanne, can you remember the 3rd direction? I'm just trying to remember it and I don't have it on my screen right now because my computer died right before the thing started.
Yes, and sorry about that. My apologies too. Normally I'm very well prepared. So yeah, I don't have my notes in front of me as well, but definitely we can provide that at a later time too.
But we have the report.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if there was something else that we had in there. I don't see it specifically
It
outlined.
talks
And
about
that's
the
maybe
what,
why.
the why, what, and how. Is that what you're talking about?
No, it was the 3. There was 3 items that we wanted to do. One was the Senior Service Awards. One was the feedback. And then the other one I do not remember for the life of me. And I don't know if the other person is there who would help me remember that. And I don't see it either, and that's probably why I can't remember it either.
Well, we've got the report. It's
But we do have the report, and everything was still in collaboration with council, not as an advocacy, but certainly as just an advisory role. And so that was very well understood, and they wanted to continue forward on that. So one of the major items that they did accomplish this past year was the selection of what's on the next item on the agenda, which is the Senior Service Awards. And I can tell you that it was very well. I'm sure Councillor Jolly can also speak to that, but I took over at the end of the last year, and it was they were very excited about being able to participate in a very wholesome discussion for sure. So, and I do apologize for not remembering the third item. My brain is a complete blank. So that's it.
Anyone else have anything to add to this motion? All right, I will call for Councillor Killick, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
Get the water jug in the way here. Ken's encroaching on my territory. Just like to recognize the past chair, Randy Black, for pulling the award or the report together for council's review as a comprehensive report. So Randy is no longer chair, and he's passing the torch over to Suzanne, and that's great. And also recognize Councillor Jolly for last year's leading this group, and Councillor Hughes for taking it over. Good comprehensive report, even though we can't seem to find the 3 action items, but that's okay.
They're in there.
I think everything we continue to hear, seniors are a very important and growing group in the community. So it's great that we have their voice represented here directly to council. And these kind of year-end reports of all the activities that they go through is super helpful when we, even though there were no questions today, that doesn't mean we're not interested. We read the report, it was well written, and we take that message to heart. So I'd just like to thank that feedback and input from the Seniors Advisory Committee.
Thank you for that, Councillor Killick. Seeing no one else wanting to speak, why don't we go to the vote? Voting's closed, and that passes unanimously. All right, Suzanne, now we are on to the Seniors Elders Service Award Program. So you've registered to speak on that topic for sure. So I will now invite you to give your thoughts on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And I do want to apologize as well for the last agenda item, not being able to speak to it. But let me talk to you a little bit about the Seniors Elders Service Award. This is a brand new award that the Seniors Advisory Committee has put forward. We believe this is the right award. We were very mindful that it wasn't in duplication of the Community Recognition Award or the Alberta Seniors Award. What we've done is we've become more lenient with regards to the criteria. A senior could be someone that is formal within an organization or informal, perhaps a senior within the community who's doing great work for their next door neighbor could be nominated for this award. So we have a 5-year window of the criteria. And of course, it is for any volunteer that is a senior here in the city of St. Albert. And yeah, and so just to add, any roles could possibly perhaps maybe providing food delivery service to someone, maybe being a companion to a neighbor who is a senior, or perhaps maybe in a senior mentoring a young person could be nominated for this award.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. Does anyone have any questions of Suzanne? If not, I can go to administration for their presentation. I think it's Linda's doing it. I just see her there. That's what I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, go ahead, Linda. Go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot more to add than what Suzanne did. Certainly, I say administration is ready to support the implementation of the Seniors Award should council see fit to move forward with it. There would be a little bit more work, of course, would have to be done for 2024 in terms of getting ready to do the first round of awards for 2025. But other than that, I really don't have a whole lot more to add. Suzanne did a fabulous job. If there's any other questions, absolutely myself or Tricia Boonstra, who's the advisory or the staff liaison, is certainly here to answer questions as well.
Can I give you a quick one to start, Linda? Why was the age
Sure.
55 chosen?
I'm sorry, what was that? You cut out.
The policy talks about age, council will award individuals age 55 years or older. That doesn't seem like to me the legal definition of senior.
Of seniors, yeah. Yeah. Suzanne, you look like you want to answer that.
Yeah, well, two things, kind of two questions. A senior, yes, it's 55, and it's my understanding that was a number that the city of St. Albert is using is 55. So that's why we use that as the criteria. With regards to the 5 years, what we did is, again, we looked at the Community Recognition Award and the Alberta Seniors Award, and most of them are looking for long-term volunteerism, up to 20 plus years, or it's the decision around whether they would be successful or not. We use the year 5 in the sense that it's short, it's not encroaching on those other 2 awards with timelines, and we feel we're probably going to get maybe a better uptake in applications, those individuals interested in putting names forward. In addition to that, I do want to mention very quickly, the Seniors Week is June the 3rd to the 9th, and we want to use this as a way of capturing a volunteer who has stepped up and given back to their community. So we wanted the actual application to be very simple, not heavy on the criteria, very lenient on timelines.
Okay, thanks for that.
Okay. Oh, sorry to go back. Was your question also, just to clarify, Mayor Herron, around the age 55, why that was chosen?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And when we look at, like you say, the seniors definition, certainly in our community, even with the seniors club, senior center, 55 is one of the numbers that's often used when we're looking at seniors. So it doesn't necessarily coincide with some of the provincial or federal, but locally it's often referred to as well. So I think in that conversation, 55 was one of the numbers that was come up with.
Okay. But there's no city definition of a senior.
Not that I'm aware of, no. And I would argue 55 is pretty young.
Yeah. Councillor Broadhead, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and certainly thanks for the presentation. You may have answered my question, but it's more around just clarity. I think in the backgrounder, it says the overlap between the let me get it here for you in a second.
Community recognition.
Community recognition. And I recognize that this is about seniors. So there's some wording here, and it says that the structure of the bylaw has sort of mitigated the overlap. Nominees shall be a resident of the city or have had a significant impact on the city within the last 5 years. Does that mean that somebody who is not a resident of St. Albert but had an impact here could in fact be nominated for a St. Albert award? Is that the intent behind that?
Thank you, Councillor, for that question. No, our intent, they would have to be a resident of St. Albert. That would be one of the criteria.
Okay. Okay, it kind of says it in 1 and 4. So anyway, I'll leave it with you. If the intent is that they be a resident of St. Albert, award for St. Albertans, and that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Jolly.
Thank you. So I know that this policy was created by the committee on the direction of City Council. At any time, was there a discussion about whether it was needed at all? Or did we just go with, or did the committee just go with the direction to create the policy?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Jolly, for that question. it was, if I reflect, there was a lot of conversation around it. You know, the importance of it, importance of recognizing seniors is something that we want to promote. And so that's how that kind of stemmed. Not sure if that really answered your question, but I know there was lots of discussion around it. Should we move forward? What is the benefits around it? Why are we doing what we're doing? And so we felt that there was a definitely need to recognize those volunteers who are seniors, to showcase them.
Thank you. And so I also wanted to touch on something you mentioned, that you said this policy is quite a bit more lenient than other awards policies. So to kind of try to eliminate some of that duplication with the St. Albert and the provincial award for seniors, or for community service, and then the provincially for seniors. So kind of touching on that leniency, is this more of a like, thank you for your participation in your community over the last 5 years, kind of celebration of kind of current volunteers? Is that the intent?
Yeah, I would say that's the intent. And of course, when we receive the applications that are coming in, we can evaluate that too, depending on how many are coming in, what is the level, what is their contribution to the community. So I know the Senior Advisory Committee wants to take a look at all of the applicants and then measure it accordingly. As this is a brand new award, I'm sure we're going to be doing a lot of learnings, and we may have to go back and revisit the criteria. But for now, we just really want to put it out there and hopefully get some buy-in from our community to recognize our seniors.
And do you feel like seniors aren't recognized in St. Albert right now?
No, I shouldn't say that by any stretch of the imagination. We know that most volunteers are seniors, and we know the award is out there, the Community Recognition Award. So if anybody does want to recognize their seniors, they definitely have that platform, or they have the other one too, the Alberta Seniors Awards. And as well, in saying that, we know a lot of organizations have very robust volunteer appreciation awards within their own organizations. And so we know there are volunteers being recognized within the formal setting. With regards to the Senior Elder Service Award, we're looking back at both informal as well as those formal structures. So those informals would be your next door neighbor who is going beyond the call of duty, perhaps maybe shoveling the driveway for their next door neighbor senior, or taking them for maybe appointments where we're saying you would be eligible to submit that name forward. So to answer your question, yes, absolutely. Within the city of St. Albert, there is a lot of awards happening. We're just adding one more layer.
Thank you. And so I guess this question will be to staff. Do we have a Good Neighbor Award? I thought that was something that I could nominate my neighbor for.
We do. I do it all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, we do. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
All right. Any more questions? Councillor Hughes.
Yeah, just a heads up that I just sent forward an amendment for this section. One that Councillor Broad had mentioned about the or being a resident, I think it should be changed to and. So just, I'm not sure if it requires a formal amendment or not, but I put it forward in case it did, just so that you were aware, because I just did this last second.
Excuse me, Councillor Hughes, we didn't
Yeah.
get an amendment. Can you email it to?
I just did. I can do it again.
Oh, we just got it. Thanks.
Yeah, and while I've got you there, I think that, yeah, I think it's just section 1 that would be irrelevant to just the resident, right? Because it could be a senior or an individual. So it's just the section 1 that has to have the and in place of the or.
You just changed one word. Okay. Well, no one's
One-
read any motion into the record yet, so.
Yeah, I just wanted to give you the heads up. That's all.
Any other questions? Councillor Killick.
Could I just get clarification on the wording in what was written up by, I think, by the seniors committee talks specifically about seniors, and then in the actual bylaw legal wording, it uses a word seniors/elders. I assume the word elders was to be more inclusive and maybe recognition of our Aboriginal heritage, but I'm just wondering, was that done purposely or for some other?
So I'm going to defer that question to the representative from the Seniors Advisory Committee. When legal had reviewed it, that was how it was presented from the committee to us. So I actually do not know the answer to that question.
Linda,
Trisha Boonstra is with us and she's our staff liaison that's on the committee and she can answer that question for you, Councillor Killick.
Yes, Councillor Killick, thanks for the question and you're bang on. That's why we did it.
Perfect. I like that. So that's good. Thank you.
all right, I see no more questions. So Councillor Hughes as the rep.
Now, the only thing I have, Mayor, is I have that amendment if it's
That's
necessary.
you can move amendment on the main motion.
Can I?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, I'm just gonna, give me 1 second here now. I'm on a different page. Let's review in that policy was referred to me. Okay. Oh, okay, that the Seniors, Elders, Senior Service Awards Program Policy C-CS-24 be approved. Very short.
Okay, and then let's. I'll
And then I
accept
have
it.
the
Now Go on
amendments.
to your amendment. Which
Okay.
I'm assuming is quick and easy, so.
I'm hoping.
Yeah.
And so it is that C-CS-24 is amended to change section 1 under service standards / expectations. It's amended from nominee shall be a resident of the city or have significant impact to the city within the last 5 years to nominee shall be a resident of the city and have had a significant impact in the city within the last 5 years.
You okay with the wording of that amendment? Okay,
That's fine.
all right, I'll accept that. Anything to debate on that one?
You know what? I will leave it and see if I actually need to debate. That's how, but
Councillor Killick?
Again, sorry, just to refer, it's on page 103 of our total package. It says and/or individuals. So we're kind of splitting hairs here a little. Well, I guess we're not splitting hairs. We're
I think
trying
she
to get
wants to take
clarity.
out the or.
I'm taking out the or and making it an and. So that it's no longer just, you can't just be a resident or have had a significant impact because the intention was that they are a resident and have had a significant impact. So I think this was a typo, quite frankly.
Okay.
And so I'm just trying to clarify it so that we don't have confusion later down the road.
Because it's listed in a couple of places one way and then another place a different way. So
Where's
I-
the other location that we need to?
Well, on
change
page,
it?
definitely on page 103, it says and/or, but previously to that, now I'm gonna lose my.
No, that and or is 55 years or older who have made extreme contributions or individuals under the 55 who have served seniors. So it's not about being a resident or non-resident. That is about the age. So if you're over 55 and have done significant contributions to the community, that's one eligibility. If you're under 55 and have specifically done a lot of service towards seniors, it's another eligibility. That's the intention of page 103.
Okay.
Okay.
So is it just the one section,
As far as I can tell you.
section 4.2?
No, and again, that's about the age, Councillor Broadhead, which is a senior involved in the city or an individual involved in seniors that contributes. So this again is the number 4 is about age, not about residency. The only residency is section 1. So you're over 55, Councillor Broadhead, I know just by a hair. So you'd be eligible under both categories. However, if somebody was like 18, but heavily involved in helping seniors, they would also be eligible, is what they're saying.
Fair enough. I
Okay.
want you to know, I think like an 18-year-old.
Just like, just by a hair. You know what? You could probably fit both. What are we kidding? Yeah.
Okay, I think we've got it covered.
Okay.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
Councillor Jolly?
Yeah, I just want to quickly say, I'm not going to support this change because we absolutely have volunteers who come into St. Albert from other communities, and I don't want to discourage that, from Sturgeon County or City of Edmonton or what have you. And I think those people absolutely bring value and they're already included in our community services awards. So I don't see any issue with having that with any of our awards, just kind of having it the same across the board. Thanks.
Cool. Councillor Killick, you still have your button push. You're good? That's it for debate on the amendment. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm not married to one way or the other here. I guess this is just gonna be a council decision. I'm just clarifying what came on the screen today about, because I took this over at the end. Do we want to have it be residents in Albert, or we just want to have it people that serve St. Albert? And the purest form is to say they have to be a resident. The other way is to say broader. I don't really care which way we go, but at least council can make the decision on this one area. That's it.
All right, call for the vote. Vote is closed. That motion passes with myself and I think Councillor Jolly opposed. Back to the main motion as amended now we'll add. I'll open it up for debate. Councillor Hughes, go ahead.
Yeah, just briefly, I want to thank the committee, both of the past committee and the current one, for their excitement and dedication to trying to make the best program they can. There's a lot of discussion, even when I took over at the end, and excitement about being able to bring forward this policy and recognize the volunteers, and both from seniors and people who are donating towards seniors' time and improving their lives. So I understand that there's already been programs before. We've already had this debate about whether or not we were going to move this forward in general, and that did pass. And what I just want to say is that we don't have anything like this happening right now during Seniors Week. And I think it's just a really positive program to bring forward. And the cost is minimal, and it's anything we can do to encourage volunteering in the city and recognize those people who are doing it, I think is a good thing. Civic used to have it. Civic's no longer with us. And so this is just a small step in doing something to recognize them. That's it.
Councillor Jolly.
Thank you. So I'm actually the executive director of a senior serving organization. Every year we recognize our volunteers. We're also eligible for funding from, I think it's I can't even remember which government it is, to recognize our volunteers. And there's kind of categories specifically for seniors. This to me feels like very much a duplication of service, both in terms of what seniors various nonprofit organizations are already doing, but also what we're doing internally with the city already in our Community Recognition Award, and then the province in their Seniors Award. Having been there for a lot of the discussion at the Seniors Advisory Committee, there absolutely was not consensus on whether we need this, on whether those participation stickers are important. This is kind of part of our community of being a good neighbor. One of the comments was that, we want to be able to recognize the neighbor who shovels snow for their senior neighbor, and we already do that. We want to recognize those seniors or those people who are serving senior serving organizations for exceptional service. We're already doing that through the province. And I don't want make work projects when this already exists other places. So that's why I'm opposed to this today. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Broadhead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate the comments. This is presented by the Seniors Advisory Committee. Consensus or not, they made a vote. So the seniors speak as a whole here now. So just like council, we take a vote at the end. Council speaks based on the decision. So this is our seniors coming and asking for a seniors recognition program, and I feel we should give it to them.
Anyone else on debate? I'll just add, I can't remember how I voted when this came to council to refer it back, but I have a feeling I voted against it, and I'm probably going to again today. And this is a hard one to vote against because it's recognizing seniors. But for many of the reasons that Councillor Jolly just pointed out, I write many cards and certificates to good neighbor recognitions all the time. I think it's a great program, and the city has really picked it up, and they are honoring their neighbors, whether they're senior or not, for shoveling, etc., garbage pickup, driving, everything that was mentioned earlier. And I find if we have too many programs, it diminishes the value of the ones that we really care about. And we have put our weight and our might behind our community recognition program. That was a result of a lot of conversations and work when CIVC closed their doors on how we would recognize exceptional residents in this community. I just looked, the last two recipients from last year were both seniors, Tony Jurett and Alan Murdoch. So I wouldn't want somebody to get this award and then not be eligible for the community recognition, which of course they both could be, but then that seems a duplication. You're getting the same, you're doing the same work and you're getting multiple awards. So that's duplication. So I don't want to in any way diminish the seniors by voting against this policy, but I just really feel like we have got a good program in place through the community recognition. And I also feel like once we start doing this, when are we going to get a youth recognition program? I just spent Sunday at the Slash game, and the amount of hours that the coaches are putting in for hockey and ringette, they don't get an award. So except for the community recognition, I think if we could focus all our energy on that, then those getting the awards would really feel that they have been honored in our community. But of course, this is seniors and I'm not married to it, as Councillor Hughes said as well. But I will probably be opposing. Councillor Hughes to close. Oh, sorry, Shelley, I asked if there was any more before I spoke. Go ahead.
Thank you. I will support this. It's known in our community that many of the city events, whether it be parades, all others, things that are going on in the city, there's a large amount of seniors volunteering, and it is a growing problem that we can't get volunteers. A lot of the seniors that do volunteer are, aging out of being able to volunteer. And I think, to just I don't see the harm in it's a simple and inexpensive way of just giving them that other thank you to keep them going and realize that they're doing it for some value. Rock in August, for example, I mean, a lot of them are seniors. We wouldn't have many events going on in the city if it wasn't for our senior volunteer base, because there's just not enough uptake otherwise. So I'm hoping that in the future, the seniors can guide and recruit younger volunteers. But at this point in time, I applaud them. So I support this.
All right, Councillor Hughes.
Thank you. I just a couple quick things. When I look at Seniors Week, we do a proclamation and then that's it. And this is something that, as I said before, would actually provide an additional recognition during that week, recognizing it. The other thing is the community recognition program. When they do the selection, they understand that name's being written in stone. There's much higher criteria involved in being able to get the name written on that stone versus simply recognizing it. My intention, and what I'm hoping that comes out of it, is not that they get a participation sticker, but they do get something to recognize the efforts they did, so that they have more than just a sticker to come forward with it. And I do know that it's not just about volunteering in an organization. Some of these people volunteer multiple ways. It's not just about, I did a lot for the seniors organization, which is often easily necessary for many people, but they will volunteer at Meals on Wheels. And then they'll actually fill up seniors' taxes for 2 months. And then they'll also be a volunteer driver. And then they will also do comfort care. And then they will continue to do other things at a different level. It's not just about seniors that just do one thing and happen to be there and step up. There's many that go across the board, and it's shocking how much time they put into helping the other people in their community. And this is something that we can do to recognize that, but recognizing that they probably would not hit the community recognition board if they just simply said, I happen to be doing a lot of taxes for seniors for 2 months a year and also driving them around. So that is what this allows. The other thing is that, maybe we do need a youth recognition award. Just because we started with seniors does not mean we can't have one for youth as well. So if this is a hole that you feel that we need to have, Mayor Herron, then definitely that's something we should potentially look at. And we have a youth committee as well that can also help us that progress if that was what to go forward. But I see there's no negatives on this. It's not even going to come forward in the year. We have time to iron out any other minor kinks and just see how it is. But I think that rewarding people and recognizing them for the work they do, regardless if they're volunteering or not, regardless if they're retired or not, is something that we do to encourage this. And this is more than just volunteering. It's recognizing people during Seniors Week for the actions they do as seniors and towards seniors to make life better in St. Albert. And I see there's nothing but good come from this. Thank you.
Call for the vote. Voting is closed and the motion passes with Mayor Herron and Councillor Jolly opposed. So now, because that one passed, we do have to pass the bylaw that amends the advisory committee. So I don't know if you have any presentation on this, Marta.
No, I just wanted to explain the reason for the amendment. So given that the new policy was just approved, we're just updating the Seniors Advisory Committee bylaw to clarify the roles and responsibilities of the Seniors Advisory Committee. to add this new responsibility to act as the selection committee for this new award and forward their recommendations to council. I'm happy to answer any questions about that. Thanks.
All right, is there any questions of Marta before we go to the actual bylaw amendment? Seeing none, can I have a member of council read it in? Councillor Mackay, go ahead.
That bylaw 6/2024 being amendment 5 to Senior Advisory Committee bylaw be read a first time. No comments.
Okay, anyone else? All right, call for the vote. Voting's closed. That passes unanimously. Second reading.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for it to come back here. Oh, that bylaw 6/2024 be read a second time.
Thank you for that. Call for the vote. Voting's closed. Motion passes unanimously, and Councillor Broadhead, thanks.
That unanimous consent be given for consideration of third reading of bylaw 6/2024.
Thanks. I will call for that. That motion passes unanimously, so we can go to third reading. Councillor Mackay.
That bylaw 6/2024 be read a third time.
Excuse me. I'll call for the vote. Voting's closed, and that motion passes unanimously. Done. No emergent items on our agenda today. You guys might find it surprising, but we have councillor updates. Again, we just had them at our last meeting, but that one was postponed from the January updates. So if you have anything new over the last 2 weeks, I'll let you present. So I'll start with you, Councillor Killick. Nothing?
Nothing.
Councillor Mackay?
Yeah, actually, I have the policing committee that happened right after our last committee of the whole meeting. We had a great presentation by Elizabeth Wilkie and Debbie Scory in relation to the community social needs assessment, both presentation, how it so some of the findings and how they related specifically to the policing committee responsibilities, and also just a general overview. So it was actually very informative. But of note also was kind of some of the conversations. So our chair, Ian Sanderson, is also the chair of the Alberta Police Governance Board, and the province have just brought in new amendments as it related to the Police Act, but they haven't set all the regulations. And of particular interest perhaps to us is how policing committees will be impacted in those jurisdictions or communities served by the RCMP. And there's a number of impacts. Right now, I mean, they are, the key changes would be the establishment of a police review commission that will be responsible for managing complaints against police and conduct disciplinary proceedings. So that kind of is an independent, obviously, from the sound of it, but it takes it away from actual police agencies. It mandates the creation of a civilian governing bodies for communities policed by the RCMP, and it tweaks what our policing committee and what policing committees will actually look like, with the potential of actually removing public complaints director responsibilities. It looks at how policing committee composition is established. For example, do municipal councils responsible for assigning members, or will this become something that will be the responsibility of the government, the senior government? It requires these policing committees to develop community safety plans, report annually on their progress. It requires policing commissions to create diversity and inclusion plans to reflect the communities they serve. And it also enables the Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Services to set provincial policing priorities to help foster consistency of policing across Alberta. And I'm reading verbatim here, whether this is not a.
That's okay, no.
This is not a comment or a statement. It's just, this is what they have. It requires policing committees to create their own policing priorities that consider the provincial priorities and report annually. And it adds 8 guiding principles for Alberta Police Services to provide a foundation of core beliefs and values. Plus, it makes a number of administrative changes to the Law Enforcement Review Board. There's some interesting kind of a because we're policed by the RCMP, they're looking at, I mean, if you're between a municipality between 5,000 and 15,000, you can opt out of actually some establishing your own policing committee, but then you'll be kind of reporting to what's proposed is an RCMP regional governance zones, and they're looking at how do they establish those, and so they're looking at feedback whether these will be one per each one of the 4 RCMP districts, or perhaps there's 2 per RCMP districts, but they're also looking at creating with basically allowing other smaller municipalities to join a larger community like ourselves. Let's say if Morinville wanted to join us, or if Sturgeon County wanted to potentially join us, or
You're talking about joining the committee?
joining our committee,
Yeah, okay.
in a more of a region.
Even though they're policed by different detachments?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is kind of where they're going. There's a lot, basically right now they're seeking feedback. And so we've provided feedback as a policing committee. A particular concern for us would be the loss of our public complaints director, because that provides a real local lens on some of the issues that are affecting our community, and the value of having a civilian public complaints director is of a benefit, because obviously there are some individuals who do not feel like picking up the phone to complain about police officers' actions, particularly if they know they're talking to another police officer. So
Right.
having a civilian independent public complaints director has what I see as being proven time and time again, a large benefit into our community. So that is concerning if we would be to lose that position and they would go to more of a regional public complaints director. But right now that's these are all just proposals, and they were seeking some input, so we have provided it as a committee. And
Can we,
so-
or can I see a copy of the feedback when it's all typed up and ready to go?
Yeah, you bet.
Perfect.
And also, I mean, everybody can go online. I mean, I can send out also the access of the questionnaire, but I mean, I think it just has more, I mean, I'm not sure whether Alberta Municipalities is providing a response, or if, I don't know. Yeah, you're kind of being blocked out. I've taken away your secret decoder ring. Yeah, but anyways, it's I mean, the act creates I mean, they're still looking at creating the Provincial Police Advisory Board, but we still don't know all of the issues around what that makeup is and what that potentially is. I mean, I can go through some of the other changes because they specifically identify potentially what the composition of policing committees will look like. For example,
Competition?
composition.
Composition.
Sorry, I spent all that money to get my hair replaced and my mouth quit working. But it's just like, what's the size? What qualifications would members be required to serve on a policing committee? What would disqualify someone? Who should be involved in the selection? Like I mentioned earlier, how long will they be allowed to serve? And are there any specific groups that need mandated representation on policing committees? So, you know, it's, I mean, the governance zones are going to be interesting because for us, potentially we lose a great deal of our local autonomy, even though, you know, we're of a size where we could probably establish our own policing committee, but what will that look like and who appoints members will be maybe changing. But the Provincial Police Advisory Board will be represented. They'll be just communities served under the PPCSA will be represented on a provincial board that will make representations, and the provincial board will only have one seat designated for First Nations and one seat for Métis. And but then otherwise it doesn't identify who's appointed to them, how they're appointed to them, things like that. And I think that was still an issue that Alberta municipalities had as to relation, because they used to have one member from RMA, one member from Alberta municipalities, you know. So
We had actually 3 from each.
Okay.
Board, yeah.
Yeah, anyway, so the challenge is around what will this look like? How will our input be added or not? And then what are the next steps? And we haven't got any of those information yet. So it was a lot of conversation in relation to that because again, it's what we don't know.
Just a quick question. I noticed, because I do read the agendas when they come out, you guys were talking about succession planning for a current public complaints director. She's retiring or wanting.
She hasn't retired. She's just gonna time out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
So I mean, in relation to the way we established the committee, so under the current police act, there's a certain amount of training
Yeah.
required, a certain amount of kind of preparation, for lack of a better term. So if we maintain this structure provincially, then we will for certain have to look at identifying somebody to come in that will want the job from the community.
yeah, exactly.
So I mean, it's still up in the air. So because of that, we kind of tabled that.
Okay. Keep me up to date, because our current public complaints officer, when she's done, deserves some recognition because she's worked hard. Yeah. All right, Councillor Hughes.
Could I ask
Anything
a
new? Oh,
question?
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Did this make it through the red tape reduction?
I have no idea. I can't answer that.
We could ask that a lot. Like, Councillor Hughes.
Well, mine's not nearly as exciting as yours, I tell you. Just a couple of things. So my garbage meeting is tomorrow. So waste reduction, I know everyone gets very excited every time I have a meeting, and it's coming up. So everybody, one more sleep. The other thing was just I know that 2 weeks ago we mentioned about the audit committee and about having it come before council for an approval in March. It may not be till April. There's been a tremendous response to our RFP. So as a result, it's going to take us a bit longer to try to come up to a conclusion and a lot more to go through. So yeah, a surprising number of interested applicants or proposals that have come forward for review. So if it doesn't come forward right away, don't lose sleep. It is coming. We're just working on it. That's it. Thanks.
Awesome. Councillor Bermansky.
No, I don't have any
Nothing new.
update.
Okay. Councillor Broad, anything new since 2 weeks ago?
Actually, yes, Madam Mayor, on the 7th, which was the day after our last meeting. So I'm appointed to the National Board of the Canadian Urban Transit Association. We had our executive committee meeting, which was interesting in its own right. But one of the disquieting conversations that came forward was the whole future of the transit bus manufacturing industry in Canada. And we have 2 major manufacturers with the bulk of their market within the United States. But one is going to go to 100% electric vehicle propulsion. And the other one is likely to as well, given that Proterra, the big electric bus manufacturer in the state, is now gone under. The interesting implication for municipalities across Canada is the impact to your capital reserves, because the bus is 50% more. And so you'll be getting the same bus to carry more people at 50% more, and you'll find that your capital reserves are underfunded by 50%. So it's an interesting conundrum, and one, of course, that's going to land on our lap, just like every other municipality across the nation. And unless you're prepared for it, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see if the feds or if the province comes to the table to assist. So anyway, like I say, disquieting to be sure.
Thanks. Councillor Jolly, any meetings?
Yeah, the Youth Advisory Committee. So we also had the presentation on the community needs assessment, and it was an excellent discussion. I think a lot of the youth had kind of understand the kind of statistics that we were gathering, kind of information we were gathering, but it was an opportunity to discuss the application of how we use that. And so they had great questions about how administration uses that information, how council uses that information. So really, really valuable presentation.
Great. All right, that is it for councillor updates. We have 8 minutes before our public hearing. So number 12 is information request, notice of motion and announcements. Does anyone have any IRs? I'll start with. No, no IR. You notice the motion? You had something, Councillor Hughes? No, oh, sorry. No notice motions, no IRs. Okay, awesome. And then any announcements? Go ahead.
Thank you. So I had a question. You may not have this answer, and I can move it as an IR if you need to, or whatever works for you. But since we've had the, let me start and put all the words in the right order now. The dog parks, we had like those little holders to hold the bags, and they're often empty. And now there's a discouragement from even getting plastic bags at all. So has there been any discussion at all about putting forward, like actually paying for little bags for the dog poop bags, et cetera, and having them more readily available on the trails, et cetera? Has there? I'm guessing there hasn't been, and then before you answer, like I'm willing to. I guess what I'm looking for is, if you haven't, maybe this is an IR here. I thought I had none. Is how much do you think it would cost? And then, because I'm thinking this is an area that we would be. If we don't have bags there somehow, we're going to have a lot more poop. So we need to do something to encourage it. So I'm just wondering, has there been any thought about that? And if not, can I get some information about it?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. There has indeed been some discussion about it in wake of the plastics ban specifically. And I think the initial approach was that the city was not going to assume that as a service level. So if you want to go to the extent of what it would cost and have us do that more fulsome analysis, I would recommend an IR.
Okay, so I'll put that forward as an IR then. Is just, I'll just read it to you kind of right now. It's just to look at what the cost would be and the options for on a per unit basis. And then also because we have an option of just doing it like the 20 bags, like the 20 parks, or if we also wanted to add it to the trails at certain locations, et cetera, because that's also a location that sometimes people forget to bring their bags for. So, yeah, so I'll add that and ask for what the cost is for the service levels if we were to do it, and then I'll have a discussion from there. Thank you.
Poop questions. Bread bags. Even though plastic bags have been banned, bread bags are amazing to pick up dog poop as a dog owner. And just honestly, anyone listening, it's your responsibility as a dog owner to have dog bags with you.
I'm not disagreeing,
Yeah,
but there's like
yeah.
tons being picked
Yeah.
up. And if we want to put bread bags, maybe we should put something on there saying we also take bread bags, like
Yeah,
on the
Bread
actual
bags are good.
containers as well. Because people aren't going to think of it necessarily. That's it.
All right. The only other thing I wanted to add, I've got 5 minutes before we go to the public hearing, is a big thank you to you, Mr. Fletcher, to the fire department for yesterday, and to the union 2130. Councillor Killick was there, Councillor Mackay was there. I don't know if anyone else on council dropped by, but I mean, the weather really cooperated, and I was right at 11 when it opened, and it was already busy, but as we were leaving, just were hordes of people just swarming over to Lacombe Park. And it was a very successful day for our community to celebrate Family Day. So please pass on to everyone involved with the organizing of that. And council, just so you know, Councillor Mackay and Killick and I actually talked about us setting up a little tent, weather dependent, next year, so we could maybe hand out hot chocolate and, you know, talk to residents about whatever they want to talk about. Very much like our council in the park barbecue. So food for thought, but yeah, it was a great event. So thanks to all involved. All right,
If I could.
go
add,
ahead. Yep.
Madam Mayor,
We have 4 minutes to kill.
Okay. Well, I just like to add to the recognition to our fire and emergency services personnel. There were there almost 30 volunteers, my understanding, but also to the public transit team that did the park and ride out of
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Belrose. I was a little bit skeptical when I saw the number of wagons and strollers who were trying to jam on the bus, but I actually took public transit, park and ride to the event, and it worked extremely well. So that team should also be added in there, and also our municipal enforcement showed up as well and was helping to direct traffic. So there was many people involved in that event that the residents just absolutely had a fantastic time, and obviously the weather played into that, but it was really great to see again how much. And I want to stress that there were some questions that I had actually about the firefighters and getting paid to be there. And I absolutely clarified they were volunteering their time, as everybody was. And when our city employees give back to the community as volunteers, they deserve a real strong recognition, because there's sometimes a misconception as to how things happen like this, but it's through volunteering. And should also say it kicked off their muscular dystrophy campaign drive, and I want all residents to be aware of that and try and support it as well.
Yeah, they're going to be at Fire Hall 2 camping out in the next couple of weeks.
And Eastside Marios tonight, I think, is waiter tip night. So
thank you for that, Councillor Killick. There was one fire truck that was on duty, which I found interesting. They were right at the exit. So if they got called, they could scream out. But because they were there, they had actually got some of their firefighters to volunteer to do their medical calls. Yeah, it's an amazing. And when I was at the Slash game on Sunday, the manager of the Slash is one of our local firefighters here in St. Albert. He was at the game, and then he did a full night shift overnight, and then he was making hot dogs at the barbecue. He was probably exhausted, but yeah, giving of their own time in many ways. So, all right, all good. Made me feel good to be part of the city and be the mayor of such a great community. So, now I'm going to call or open a public hearing on bylaw 2, our second bylaw. It's a text amendment to the land use bylaw. Public hearing is now open. You guys know the procedure for public hearing. I will go to administration to make a presentation first. I don't know who from admin is making the presentation.
I am, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, it's Barb Dupuy is going to make the representation.
Thank you. Sorry, it just wasn't written on my paper. I should have asked beforehand. Thanks, Barb. And then I'll open up for questions of Barb, and then we'll go to the proponent. I see both Bladen and Mike are here. Are you guys speaking or just wanting to answer questions? Just here to answer questions. Okay. There might be some. So, and then we'll bat that back and forth until you feel comfortable to move forward with closing the public hearing. We have no public registered to speak, and I see none in the gallery, so this might not be that difficult. Okay, so Barb, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of council. My name is Barb Dupuy, and I'm here from planning to present bylaw 2 2024, which is a text amendment to our land use bylaw to amend regulation 8.21C. Land use bylaw regulation 8.21C states that lots less than 11.5 meters in width shall be located on through streets only. This has meant that narrower lots have not been able to be placed on cul-de-sac or P-loop street designs. Currently, narrower lots are only allowed on through streets that have 2 points of connection with another street, such as a crescent. The applicant has applied to remove this regulation so that narrower lots can be placed on cul-de-sac and other non-through street designs. I want to clarify that the applicant's proposal was to remove the regulation entirely. However, that was not entirely supported by administration. Administration instead is proposing to amend regulation 8.21C. Administration's proposed solution is to keep wider lots on the cul-de-sac bulbs and partial bulbs, limit the number of dwelling units on a non-through street, and requiring a secondary public access when the length of a non-through street exceeds 200 meters. I'm going to talk a little bit about our review process and then provide our rationale for these recommendations on the next few slides. So when reviewing this file, staff took a look at several different sources of information. One of the first items we reviewed was our municipal development plan. So Flourish MDP contains several relevant sections for guidance on this amendment, including our street network policies, housing diversity policies, and safety and protective services policies, which are detailed in your council agenda report. Administration also conducted a municipal review to see how other municipalities handled these situations and produced a report, which is also attached with your council package. We found that some municipalities either limited the length of the non-through street or the number of dwelling units or both. We did receive public feedback from this amendment as well, and we also received feedback from internal departments when this amendment was circulated. So these steps led to the 3 recommendations that administration is proposing today. Our first recommendation is to keep wider lots on the bulbs and partial bulbs of non-through streets. Typically, the bulb of the cul-de-sac has pie-shaped lots that narrow at the curb. The narrower the lots get, the more angled they become. And this presents a challenge for the lots that have a front attached garage and a driveway, as the driveways must taper. In some cases, the driveway tapers a little bit too much. The example on the slide is of an 8-meter semi-detached lot. At the curb, because of the angle of the driveway, there isn't necessarily enough room for a larger vehicle, such as a truck, to enter and exit the driveway without trespassing slightly on the adjacent lot. There's also not necessarily enough room for the drainage swale that's required by the surface drainage bylaw. Because there are concerns that allowing narrower front drive lots on the bulbs of cul-de-sacs is going to present challenges, administration is proposing to keep 11.5 meter lots or wider on the bulb and only allow narrower lots on the straighter sections of the non-through street. Administration's second recommendation is to limit the number of dwelling units that can be placed on a non-through street. In terms of the rationale for this item, the National Fire Protection Association has a set of standards for fire protection in suburban areas such as St. Albert. Within this book, there's a section relating to the number of dwelling units and associated number of access points. There's a table, which you can see on the slide, that asks for 1 access point for 0 to 100 households, 2 access points for 101 to 600 households, or 3 access points for over 600 households. The number of access points allows multiple routes for emergency services to get to a potential emergency situation and multiple routes for evacuation if it's necessary. And this is the rationale for why administration is proposing that if there's only 1 single access point, no more than 100 dwelling units be accessed via that singular point. And in terms of the rationale for limiting the length of non-through streets, administration looked to our Flourish MDP policies that guide our future street networks. So 2 of the key policies were identified. The first is policy 8.2.2, which requires that street networks are designed with higher interconnectivity and small block sizes. And the second is policy 11.7.4, which is to facilitate safe and adequate emergency access to neighborhoods. When looking at what was determined to be a small block size, we looked at what other municipalities have done with incorporating some of these guidelines. There are examples of limiting either the block length in the land use bylaw or the cul-de-sac length within the engineering standards. In other municipalities, we noted distances of 240 meters, 200 meters, 180 meters, or 150 meters. We chose to use a 200-meter distance as it was used by more than one jurisdiction, and it was sort of a middle ground between some of the measurements that we found. Just to clarify, a street can be proposed that's longer than 200 meters, but that street would need to be designed as a crescent and have 2 points of connection with another roadway. In addition to the proposed regulations, administration has proposed 2 parcel exceptions. It was identified through the amendment process that some existing parcels of land would not meet the requirements of the new proposed rules and would not be able to develop out in accordance with their respective area structure plans. Those parcels are in Erin Ridge North and Ville-Giroux. These ASPs were both developed prior to the adoption of Flourish MDP, and it was difficult to retroactively apply the new regulations given the existing development pattern. Administration is proposing that the Erin Ridge North example receive an exception to the proposed length requirement to allow a longer road, which is approximately 600 meters long. And then the Ville-Giroux example, administration is proposing 2 exceptions. The first is to allow a non-through street longer than 200 meters, and the second is to allow more than 100 dwelling units on a non-through street. And this is to accommodate a recent proposal that was approved. Overall, administration is proposing these parcel exceptions so that developing neighborhoods can build out as proposed in their area structure plans. The proposed amendment was circulated in March 2022 to internal departments and the public. Because this was a citywide change, no letters were mailed. Instead, the proposal was put on the Cultivate the Conversation page of our website and advertised on our social media feed. There were responses from the public. Some of the common themes related to the proposed amendment included traffic congestion and a lack of street parking, and then concerns regarding snow removal, emergency access, increasing density, privacy, and neighbor disputes. This feedback was all received prior to administration making our proposed recommendations. So administration did work to incorporate the concerns into our recommendations. A What You Said report and a What We Heard report were both posted on the Cultivate the Conversation package and are attached with your council package if you would like to see the comments. Overall, when reviewing this amendment and proposing recommendations, administration took the perspective of trying to limit risk to the city. Keeping wider lots on the bulbs ensure that there is vehicle access that does not trespass on adjacent lots, and it ensures there is room for a drainage swale on one side of the lot. Limiting the number of dwelling units on the non-through street limits the number of households that are impacted when repair is needed to a single intersection point or if evacuation of the area is ever needed. And in conclusion, administration thanks you for your time and asks that the public hearing be closed and that the land use bylaw amendment be passed as presented. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to open it up. Councillor Hughes has a question to start with.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So just so I have clarity, if right now, without the bylaw change, are we allowing these and we're putting restrictions in, or we're not allowing them in right now and
Without
we're
the
adding
bylaw
them
change.
with? So like before you came, what was it? What was it? Was it we were allowing them carte blanche or we were not allowing them at all?
Not on a non-through street, no. The only way that you could place a lot smaller than 11.5 meters would be on a crescent. So it would have to have 2 points of connection with another roadway.
Just want to be clear. So if we vote yes, we're saying yes with limitations. If we vote no, then we're saying no through fair only, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so the question, a couple other things I was just trying to figure out here. So some of the residents' complaints was about the traffic and about the lack of parking and then obviously the emergency access. If they're doing it in bulbs, are we requiring it to be wider streets to start or anything like that? Are we making anything else more accessible with that, or is it just everything else is the same?
No, so we were not proposing any additional street width for these at all. They would still have to abide by the complete streets recommended right-of-way guidelines.
And so the other thing was the 100 units. That doesn't seem small to me. Like I think of like any street at all that I've been on. If there's 100 houses on that crescent, it's not considered a small crescent to me. So it's like past a medium-sized crescent, quite frankly. So I'm trying to figure out how we're coming into that number of 100 units, then calling it small.
So I wouldn't necessarily call it small. The way that we got that 100 dwelling unit number was from those fire recommendations, and they were the ones that had one access point up to 100 dwelling units.
Okay.
I also want to just state too that this isn't always about, we tried to look at it from other forms of housing as well. So having one apartment block could have 100 units on it. So that's also like, it wasn't just about the single detached.
Okay. So we're talking about putting apartment blocks on crescents and bulb outs?
No, so it would be a non-through street. So if you only had one point of access, your apartment building would be limited to 100 units.
Okay.
Does that
I understand.
help? Yeah.
So, but let's say there was two buildings, the 100 units each, that would be okay then? Or is it total? They have to have two separate complex. You can call it like, you know, Mike's building A and then a totally different one, Mike's building B. That would be okay. Okay.
No, you would only be limited to 100 units. So it's if Mike's building had 50 and 50, sure, go ahead. But if they had 100 and 100, we would want 2 points of access for safety.
Let's say Mike and Ken were two different developers. Mike develops one on his parcel land. Ken is whatever, one parcel down, and he also wanted to develop 100. Could he also do that then, or is because it's a street, it's limited to 100 in total?
On a non-through street, no.
Wow.
And we would catch that now with this regulation, we catch it a lot sooner within the new area structure plans and neighborhood plan process. This is why there are some exemptions being proposed.
I'm not letting you build it, dude. The other question, so you have the two exceptions. So I feel like these two, like it kind of got the impression from the background that this was brought forward on the ask of on the developer. But then the developer is also getting an exemption to the rules that we're even giving. So I'm like, why don't we just give an exemption to that developer and not change all the other rules? Like I'm not quite sure why we're going down this road, considering that they're not actually even, what we're offering them is, we're actually asking them, we're giving them more than what they're asking, what we're giving everyone else. I'm trying to come to terms with why we aren't just giving them an exemption and why we're changing all the rules.
So I think some of the reasons that we're trying to put the rules in place are that we don't have those rules right now. And so when we staff looked at this amendment, we were looking at how our municipal development plan has changed. So those two area structure plans, my understanding is they were put in place when city plan was the MDP in force. And so with Flourish, we've got a few new policies that we would like to incorporate into our rules.
Okay. So when these were put forward, we were allowed, there was no mention at all about the small lots, and we were allowing extra small lots on longer streets. Because this is where I'm having a disconnect, and it's me, it's not you. Okay. It's that you're saying that if we don't put forward the amendment, then they wouldn't be allowed at all on these other streets. But that these are asking for more than what we're currently allowing, but that they were being grandfathered in. So I'm trying to figure out when the change happened that we created the limitation to did it come with Flourish that we created the limitation to the length of the streets? Is that the intention, or when did that happen?
This is coming through the application itself. So the development industry would like to have narrower lots on non-through streets. That was their original application. And when we did the review of the non-through streets and this app, what we realized is by default, it was limiting how many parcels were actually occurring on non-through streets. So we weren't ending up with a lot of units on them because they're at your higher end lot product. But we also realized that some of the rationale that I'm going to say we assume was put in place back in the day was to accommodate for increased parking, public operations with garbage and snow removal, all of that type of thing. But now that we've gone in and reviewed and seen that we could actually do 10-meter lots on regular streets and still accommodate all of those operation aspects, it came to a point where we're like, well, we don't mind that these narrower lots on the straightaways get approved. But it is limiting how long and how many of these housing units are actually occurring on non-through streets by default, because you're looking at the larger lots. So because of that, we do want to limit how many units and the length of these through streets could be.
Okay. And so
by
when
default, they're already self-correcting and self-regulating.
And when they put forward their application, it was prior to us limiting the length of it?
We recommend the limitations based upon what we found through this application. So they didn't ask for the limit. Administration is recommending the limit on the street length and the number of housing units.
I think I may understand. The other thing was just that on the throughfares, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that we were allowing the narrower lots because they're going to have lanes in the back for the garages or parking. But if we're doing a cul-de-sac, are we also requiring a lane product, or no? So we're actually, this is a big change then, because this isn't just about the cul-de-sacs, it's also about allowing front garages on very narrow lots.
So it's down to 10 meters, correct me if I'm wrong, Barb, and that already exists as regulation. So it's just, it's putting it into play with what we already enable on through streets.
But do the
and that
through streets
regulation.
require a lane product? Or do they also have front driveways? They also have front driveways.
You can do a front driveway on a through street, yeah, with a smaller 10-meter lot.
Yeah, so
Okay.
the lane product is actually narrower than 10 meters.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna let it go for now. Thank you.
Counselor Killick. And then I'll go to you, Counselor Jolly. I haven't forgotten you. Counselor Killick, then Counselor Jolly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Barb, for the detailed report. I just had a couple of questions on the cultivate the conversation feedback, which was really, there were lots of concerns about infill and existing, how this might affect infill, and you did a great job with lots of pictures and you did a lot of research, so thank you for that. But the question I had is how many, when you said there was 264 visitors to the project page, how many actually left comments and provided comments? Because it didn't normally cultivate the conversation. We actually say how many residents responded, but I didn't see that here in the info. So I wonder what the sample size was.
So I believe it was under 20 people that provided comments. My understanding from the dashboard is that the contribution number is at 18.
Okay, thank you. And just to clarify, it seems that there will be very little impact to the infill concerns that were raised, in particular from residents in Grandin area. If we put this in, it's going to be fairly small impact to any infill situation, let alone Grandin, but anywhere else in the rest of the city. Is that correct?
So I would say that there's still some limitations in terms of infill. In terms of when we get an infill application in, we're still going to have to review whether there's servicing capacity for that infill subdivision, whether there's boulevard trees that are impacted and affected. So there's no, I guess, guarantee of infill that's coming as a result of this change. It's just that there might be more lots that would be able to be infilled because they now can meet a 10-meter and a 10-meter lot width.
Yeah. So, but I guess the point I'm getting at is that this is not going to be a big, huge impact to existing neighborhoods and existing residents. This is more towards the new build on, particularly on non-through streets and cul-de-sacs, that this is really where this comes into effect. And I say that because I don't want residents to be left with the impression that, oh my gosh, you know, we're in full strategy, all of a sudden this is going to be huge impact to them. So, okay. Second question I had is, I believe the separation is you can't put a driveway right up. You have to have half a meter separation from the lot line to the driveway for the drainage swale. Is that correct? Half a meter?
I think it's 0.3 meter. I would have to check the surface drainage bylaw, but it's around there.
Fair enough. But this going to the narrower lot, keeping the driveway the way we've specified it for front drive, it still maintains that drainage swale, so that we're not getting some of the concerns we've heard from, you know, downspouts, dueling downspouts from residents. Right. Okay. Good. That's all. Thank you.
Awesome. Counselor Jolly.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify the main motion being proposed. Is that the administrative recommendation? That's not the proponent's request? Did I understand that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, great. That's all I have.
All right. Counselor Bermansky.
Thank you, and thank you, administration, for the presentation and finding common balance, I guess. The question I have is on the backgrounder. It's mentioned that in Village Giroux, that a greater than 200 meter in length is approved. What is is there a maximum or what is the new length that will be approved?
I think they said that road was 600 meters.
So I don't actually have a distance on the Ville-Giroux Road. The 600-meter one was the Erin Ridge North Road, but we did not put a maximum in. So there's a bit of flexibility depending on what design is being proposed. It's just that when we looked at the area structure plan amendment, we did estimate that that road was going to be over 200 meters.
Okay, yeah, sorry, yeah.
Okay, so you don't have a maximum on that or on the number of units either then?
No, so we also did not propose a maximum number of units for the parcel.
Okay, and why did you not have the maximum put in there?
So it's going to be tough with that particular amendment. I'm not sure whether they have submitted a renewed application or not.
That site.
Maybe I could just,
Council-
so that's related to the approval of the tower of the 20-story piece. And I don't believe we've seen design to know what the final number of units will be. And so it's related specifically to that development.
So the ASP is saying 472 dwellings, but you're saying it could change to like, you know, ridiculously 1,000 or something, you know,
Well-
that if there's no maximum.
It would be maxed based upon the ASP without coming back to council for an amendment. So by default, in theory, it would be for that particular development, but there's additional development on that road that would be approved later on as well, and we don't have those final numbers either. I would say it's probably in the order of somewhere maximum 500 units.
Okay, but it's already 472 in the ASP.
For the one, I'm not sure because I don't have this ASP open in front of me right now.
That's
I'm
what
assuming
our
that is for the one parcel with the high density site on it. The parcels that continue on to the west, those also need to be included, and those are lower density housing products. So they would be contributing much smaller numbers than you would see at the R4 or the high density site.
Okay, so in the two exceptions, then it's just, there's no limit on what can be done there.
We haven't recommended that, no.
Okay, thank you.
All right. My first question was, why did this not come to us as part of the bigger LUB changes that are coming fairly soon? Was there some urgency on this one? Maybe that goes to the proponent.
So I can take a quick stab, Madam Mayor. Thank you. This application was actually applied for prior to the start of the land use bylaw project. So we continued with that process and we didn't merge the two of them.
Okay. Other than that, I felt like your backgrounder was really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I have no further questions other than that one. Councilor McCarrigan, can I go to the proponent first? Yes. Yeah. So I will open it up now, although Mike and Bladen said they don't have a formal presentation. If anyone here has questions for either of them, I will open it up. Councilor Jolly, you're good?
Yeah, can I just ask if they have any issues with the proposed kind of changes to what they were proposing?
So I think Councilor Jolly wants to know if you guys, you wanted the whole, just that whole section removed, but administration has put the bulb piece and the length of road and the number of dwelling units per road. So any issues with those changes? Bladen, you want to go first?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Just a bit of background on, we had just proposed to remove that regulation 11.5 meters to treat it the same as any other local road within the city and not sort of exempt a cul-de-sac as being different than a straight through road. But yeah, the administration came back with these other regulations, did a lot of research and so we support it going forward in this way. The reason for the two notwithstanding clauses there for the existing situations is they were already in approved ASPs. In the case of Landrex is there's a P loop that's blocked by a storm pond on one side and existing residential on the others, which would would accommodate more than 100 units. And the 11.5 meter restriction is about a 30-foot pocket for a house, which is a large house these days. And so it's really restricted by the market. So if you can build a 24-foot pocket on a through road and only a 30-foot pocket on a cul-de-sac, that's quite a big difference. And difficult to sell that many lots at that size. So and then I guess also going back to Ville-Giroux, that ASP is already approved at over 1,000 units. So it would have over 1,000 units in there, and that includes future low density lots that would be at the west end.
It's kind of nice that you know them both intimately.
Yeah.
Councillor Jolly, any other questions?
I think that's it. So I think the answer is no concerns. Is that?
No concerns with what it
Okay,
means.
great. Yeah, that's all I have.
They're nodding, so we're good.
But yeah, we don't actually, I guess we don't agree that they're all needed, but we're in support of it going forward with this way. So.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Councillor Broadhead has a question too.
So our administration did some work, in how this plays out in other municipalities. You develop in other municipalities. Has this been a problem in where you've built in other communities?
No, we haven't experienced this restriction on lot size in other communities. I believe a lot of the precedents are outside of the Edmonton area, more in like Calgary and Southern Alberta and BC. But where we don't do a lot of work. So we haven't had an issue with lot widths on a non-through street in other municipalities.
I guess just to follow up then the administrative recommendations, you weren't surprised by them then?
No, we were looking for a simple solution, I guess, just to remove that lot width. Yeah, when we design lots in a cul-de-sac, whether it be on the bulb or on the corner, you have to make sure that the driveway fits. So that would be the case, whether it's a 11.5 meter or 10 meter lot. So maybe we can work on that through the land use bylaw update overall, but at this time we're okay with what's going forward.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Councillor Hughes.
Thank you. So here's a quick question. So one of the concerns that the residents have and I share is the concern about the lack of street parking that comes as we make these lots narrower. So when I look at this, it's like there's potentially one parking stall on the street for every 4 houses. And then there will still also be fire hydrants and stuff that will knock out some of those potential parking spaces as well. So what is the intention to address the lack of street parking as the roads continue to, the lots become more and more narrow from a developer point of view?
That's a reality today on a through street as well as a non-through street with narrower lots. So in a cul-de-sac situation, even with large lots, you can't really fit a car between 2 houses. And that's been for many years on a standard cul-de-sac with 11.5 meter wide lots. So there should really be minimal change, I guess, to the on-street parking. The reality is you can't dictate the size of a lot width based on how many cars you can get on the street. There's still 2 cars in the garage. There's still 2 cars on the driveway. When there's flanking lots in a cul-de-sac, there's typically lots of space there. And many cul-de-sacs you park. If you have both stalls on your driveway full, somebody can park behind your cars on the driveway. As long as it's your house, right? Like, so you're not blocking your neighbor's driveway or anything.
Yeah, it's just a problem that's continued to get worse as we narrow each one of the lots, regardless if it's here or anywhere else. The stress for people visiting people who are in these type of neighborhoods is really stressful when you don't have additional parking options. So just feedback.
All right, I see. Oh, Councillor Jolly, your hand's up.
Yeah, I can just make this motion if we're ready.
All right, I will come to you when we get there. I see no more questions, so I think you guys can have a seat. We're good. Does this open up any more questions of administration? Seeing that, Councillor Jolly, first I need to get a motion to close the public hearing. Can you do that as well?
Yeah, so that the public hearing on bylaw 2, 2024 be closed.
All right, call for that vote. Sorry, voting is. Put your hand up. Are you good? Tech support. Okay, so that I'm assuming passed unanimously. Sorry, the previous motion I've got here was, okay, right. Okay, Councillor Jolly, you want to do first reading?
Sure, that bylaw 2, 2024 being amendment 219 to land use bylaw 9, 2005 be read a first time.
All right, thank you for that. We'll accept it. Any opening comments? You're good?
I'll say something on second reading. How about?
Okay, perfect. Anyone else? Okay, call for the vote. Are you in just verbally say?
In favor. I got Sean Driven here. In favor.
Okay, that motion passes with Councillor Hughes opposed. All right, Councillor Jolly, second reading.
That bylaw 2, 2024 be read a second time.
Awesome, I accept that. Any comments?
You know, it would have been nice to have this amendment a little bit sooner. I know I've been waiting for land use bylaw changes for a while. I'm one of the minority of council who lives on a street who is impacted by this change or could potentially be impacted by this change. And I'm really excited about the potential for our older neighborhoods. When I look at my street, you know, I'm looking at my neighbor's house right now. We have huge lots with little, you know, I've got a 1,200 square foot bi-level on a lot that could absolutely accommodate more housing units. And I like that it's a possibility, or it can be a possibility in terms of how we develop over the next 20, 40 years. I want my kids to be able to live in St. Albert, and that's not going to be possible if we're not more creative about infill. So I'm supportive of this change, and I appreciate administration really digging down and making sure that we're still safe in our communities in the changes that we make. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? I put a star that when talked about how there's lots of references back to Flourish, but policy 7.1.7 of Flourish says we need to identify opportunities for the land use bylaw updates that support neighborhood renewal, aging in place, intensification and diversification of existing housing stock through incremental redevelopment, which this would accomplish. I mean, it's great for the newer neighborhoods as well too, but Flourish is a policy that we have all supported and adopted. It is our current guiding document for development in the community. And so this supports that. So I'm in favor. Anything to close, Councillor Jolly?
Nope.
Okay, call for the vote. Did you get it fixed? You're okay. All right, that motion passes with Councillor Romansky and Hughes opposed. Unanimous consent. Go ahead, Councillor McKay.
That unanimous consent be given for consideration of third reading of bylaw 2/2024.
Anything? You're good. Call for the vote. Voting is closed and that motion passes unanimously. Councillor Jolly, I'll go back to you.
That bylaw 2, 2024 be read a third time.
Perfect. Call for the vote. That motion passes with Councillor Hughes opposed. All right, that is that one. Thanks, guys, for showing up, and that brings us pretty much to the end of our meeting, doesn't it? Except for in-camera stuff. So it is 2:37. Let's take a 10-minute break. No, wait, let's make the motion go in camera and then we'll take the break. So then we don't have to come back out here. So Councillor Hughes, you see me? Yep. All right, go ahead.
The council move in camera to have a confidential discussion with administration pursuant to sections 24(1)A and 24(1)G of FOIP.
Okay, call for the vote. That motion passes unanimously. We're in camera, so nobody talk while they go to the bathroom. We'll see you guys in council hour.